Lynnell Willingham has joined us in studio. Yeah, perk up.
Yeah, I'm about to say, I forgot I'm on camera for the Big Time Hoffman show. What's going on, man?
Yeah, that's right.
Live in studio version of Overreaction Tuesday.
Yeah, normally we do this when Lynnell's sitting at home on his couch, which is very comfortable, and the takes have been, I don't want to say like lukewarm, like your takes are always fire.
You've been poking me a little bit the last few weeks about the level of spiciness of my takes.
You've been reasonable. Yeah. And like, I'm proud of you for it. It absolutely goes against everything that we developed the segment around.
Yes.
But I, as someone who would like to see you have great longevity in this business and learn things about the game and continue to take the research and passion that you have and have that come into logical and smart conclusions.
Yes.
I am proud of you.
Well,
why do I feel like today we're going to go in the opposite direction?
Yeah, because I got some thoughts after Washington gets back to 500 on the season at 3-3. So I'm ready to get it going.
Hit me with it. First, so for those that are new to the segment, basically Lynnell gives us a take. He gives us his reasoning why, and I say, yes, that is an overreaction because X, or no, it's not. I agree with you, yada, yada. I get to be the arbiter of overreactionness. All right, hit us with your first take.
Well, I want to preface my first take by saying...
Oh, we got a preface already.
Yeah, I want to preface the first take by saying through 6 weeks, I'm gaining more and more confidence about who Sam Howell could eventually end up becoming as a starting quarterback in the National Football League. But at this point in time, 6 weeks into the season, I feel like Sam Howell is holding this Commanders offense back right now. The amount of sacks that he's taken has directly influenced their third down numbers, which are amongst the worst in the National Football League right now. And I think just overall, some of the plays he's not hitting on. And I understand you can nitpick and go through the all-22 with every quarterback across the National Football League and look at the big plays that they're not hitting down the field. But when you talk about Washington's offense and where they are right now, they're about middle of the pack in terms of scoring. They're about middle of the 20th about in yards. Points, they're somewhere around 18. So there's improvement that's been made from last year to this year. And statistically speaking, Sam Howell, in terms of QBR, I believe he's top 16. Yards, he's top 20. Touchdowns, he's top 10, I believe. Those numbers are good, but he's still on pace to take the most sacks ever in NFL history. And I think eventually it's going to come back to bite them. Now, probably won't happen this week against New York, which is all of a sudden a way friskier matchup based on how they played against Buffalo on Sunday night.
Sure.
I expect them to throw the kitchen sink at Sam Howell, and this is going to be a sloppy one, I feel like, on Sunday.
Yeah, I'd say schematically I'm scared for Sam.
I'm
because Wink
terrified.
Martindale blitzes like he's, I don't know, like his hair's on fire, like his mother, sister, daughter, son, second cousin, and Monkey's uncle also has their hair on fire. And somehow blitzes are going to solve those problems. I don't know where that analogy got lost. Probably somewhere around the hair being on fire. To me, that take is classic bad headline, good story. Like the way you phrased the headline that Sam Howell is holding the Commanders' offense back, I hate. I hate it with every fiber of my being.
Overreaction Tuesday.
Your explanation is very good. Because I also think that there are things Sam is doing to elevate this offense.
Yes.
The velocity he has, some of the creative throws he's made. I mean, God, if he hits that ball to Jahan, the one that Jahan drops, like that.
Even on the screen pass, the touchdown to B-Rob, like that showed the maturity to me of the offense to have a play completely break down and then you score off of it.
I mean that's partially a design screen, but like he makes it happen.
They run into
like that was not how it was drawn up, but he still figures out a way to get the ball to B-Rob. They avoid somehow, probably because the refs missed it, an illegal man downfield, and then B-Rob runs through a dude's chest.
Yeah.
So there are things that Sam is doing to elevate this offense. The sacks is its biggest problem. I'll come back to that as that is the crux of it in a second. But like when you phrase it, he's holding this offense back, it makes it seem like there's a better option, and there's not. And I think that you probably agree on that.
Yes,
it's just as an inconvenient part that makes the taste less spicy, the take less spicy. That once we acknowledge, okay, then what?
Because Jacoby's not doing what Sam is doing with this offense. I don't believe he's got the athleticism to do it. I think what you mentioned, how Sam is elevating this group, a lot of that has to do with the off-schedule stuff that he's doing, and the accuracy, I think, is better than Jacoby's as well.
Yeah, and the velocity, the decisiveness on the quick game. Like, there's a lot of great stuff Sam is doing. if Diami could catch a deep ball, he'd have 2 touchdowns the last couple of weeks.
Do you think he got hooked on the one last week?
Maybe a little bit, but I think that's like a one-handed catch that a lot of NFL receivers make and try to, and like you kind of anyone who's run to try to catch a football full speed is like try to make that one-handed.
Yeah.
And like
we've all been there.
Yeah, you're like, why didn't I try 2 hands on that one? And it's like because it's hard to get that second hand out and across.
Right.
Point is though, for the sacks, it is a problem.
Yeah.
And it's a twofold problem. One, it is hurting the offense as is. 2, every sack he takes makes it more likely that the next one is going to be the one that knocks him out for some extended period of time. He just can't take this many and expect to continue performing at a high level. Because even let's say he doesn't get fully knocked out. Let's say there's no major injury. Like a bruised shoulder is a big issue for a quarterback.
Yeah.
And like we've seen guys take knocks. Like Lamar's had this the last couple of years where it's like he can play, but he's not 100% and it affects his play. And so how many more of these hits is he going to take to get till we're at that point? And I think that is a scary thing for Sam. And you're right that a lot of these, if not all of these, are on him. The offensive line is doing a very good job. I do wonder if, like, not that the play calling's bad, but is it bad for Sam? That's a question that Evie and Sam need to work out and work out quickly. So, like, don't love the way the headline's written.
Yeah.
It's clickbaity, but your article's good.
Well, there it goes. We got the people to at least click the link, right?
That's right. All right, it's Overreaction Tuesday here on the Hoffman Show. Lynnell gives us a take. We say whether or not it's an overreaction. Take number 2. Off we go.
Yeah, I'm going to stick.
Wait, but when we do it here, by the way, I guess we could do it this way. You ready for the big fancy? Big fancy.
Number 2.
Oh, hello, big voice guy. Nice to hear from you.
Hi, Jim.
Where do I want to go with this? My second overreaction is actually, I'll go with a positive overreaction. I think Washington's offensive line has been the biggest surprise of the season. Good surprise.
Yeah.
We taped earlier for overtime that I'm doing here tonight, and we threw out a couple of nuggets from Pro Football Focus. And I understand that PFF is not gospel.
It's not, but it's as good as we got.
It's a good indicator. Washington right now, I believe, is 9th in overall pass blocking efficiency and 12th with their pass block grade as a team. So when you take those numbers into account with the amount of dropbacks that Sam has had to this point, you got to be looking at them and saying, whew. And I'm going to poke the bear here a little bit. I disagree. Our good friend and colleague, Nikki Javala, joined B. Mitch and Finley earlier today and was kind of like saying, you won't really know what Sam is until you put a better offensive line around him. And I just don't think that's true. They have, for all the criticism and skepticism we had coming out of camp, through the first 6 weeks, they have blown me out of the water in terms of my expectations of what they were going to be. I think they've been more than serviceable. I think part of it, I think, why he's taking so many sacks, he's grown comfortable with this group, knowing that I can hold it a little bit longer because they're protecting me. I think that's part of it as well.
Yeah, I think Nikki's comment is interesting because, what's Sam if you put him behind the Eagles O-line? And I think that's almost like an aspirational, you could really find out what this guy could do, at his maximal level if you put him behind a great O-line. And this goes to, the resource management question that we have about this team spending a first-rounder on another corner last year, taking a wide receiver. And it's like, how much money and how many first-round picks are you going to put into the same 3 positions, as opposed to what have you actually invested in the O-line? And it goes to a question that Logan and I have talked about a lot, that we've talked about a lot, that, Anthony and I have talked about a lot on the show, and so has everyone else. What they've done is okay, but what if they optimize this roster? That is the key question. I'm trying to think of, back to your original point, your original take, if you will, most positive surprise. I think you're probably right. I think they probably at times could be a little better.
Maybe.
I mean, Sam's kind of been what I thought, but they also had higher expectations. I think nationally, probably Sam, although I think we're going to get to, because we were going to talk about the what's his name, Eric Eager quote from Sheehan's show at 6 o'clock, but I don't know if we're going to make it there. I think Lynnell's top is about to burst on that one.
It's interesting,
but nationally, clearly, I think Sam has been a positive surprise for a lot of people. Curtis, I think, has been a lot better than a lot of people have expected. I think Kendall's been phenomenal, and that's a lot of
outside
people
of the
were
Chicago game, I would say,
ready to cut him. Even the Chicago game, he gets beat by 2 ridiculously good throws, and one of which he gets his hands on. And situationally, he makes the right read. He just doesn't execute. But like largely, Kendall's been really good. Where people were like ready to cut him. I mean, Logan Thomas, same thing. He's been really good. And people were like ready to cut him. But have any of those surpassed expectations the way the O-line has? Probably not. There's still some people that are stragglers on like what's actually happening with the O-line that think this is all the O-line's fault and that they stink. But like, what are you going to do with those people? I don't know.
I'm starting to slowly block the noise out with that, and like
your past set's real good on that one.
Yeah, there we go. But no, seriously, like it's frustrating to me because like I think what people are getting caught up with is seeing individual guys get beat on a play, and it goes back to what I said at the top of this. When you are dropping back 40 times in a football game, hell yeah, you're going to get beat on a pass block rep.
Right.
These are other paid professionals that you're going up against, and it's not like we have individually like just super all-star Pro Bowl talent.
Right.
They're making chicken salad out of, well, I don't want to say chicken you know what, because it's not chicken you know what, but you get what I'm saying. They're doing the best with what they got.
For sure. And like, shout out to Corn Lucas, who had a hell of a game on Sunday on short notice in emotional circumstances, obviously continuing to send our best to Charles Leno and his family. But like, yeah, I think the O-line's been good. And especially like you said, with the sheer number of dropbacks, like I think their O-line, like Washington's O-line played better than Atlanta's, but like Washington's gave up 5 sacks and Atlanta's gave up 3? But like Desmond Ridder was freaked out half the game and like throwing the ball all over the place, and he's getting rid of the ball faster than almost any quarterback in the league on Sunday because he's got to. Like there was a pressure. Keim had this ridiculous stat on his podcast. There was one point where like I think James Smith-Williams came through on a stunt in 1.6 seconds and he doesn't even get a sack. Like if you get in the backfield in 1.6 seconds, that's an auto sack.
Right.
Like Desmond Ridder got rid of the ball. I also might have been the play that he threw the lollipop to Benjamin St. Juste. So tells you what we got there. All right, Overreaction Tuesday.
Number 3.
What you got?
Third overreaction, I'm going to go to the defensive side of the football, and it's something that has continued to concern me. Tackling seems to be an issue with this defense. And as you look ahead at the schedule, I'm not going to just act like I have all the confidence in the world that they're going to go to New York Sunday and win, because we know how these matchups have gone over the past couple of years.
Not great, Bob.
Saquon Barkley scares me. He just does. He's the type of back, and I know Bijan's that type of back, and they did a nice job overall, I think, corralling him and limiting his impact. But I think Brian Dable and Ken Dorsey are going to scheme it up a lot better than what Arthur Smith and company did on Sunday. So I think if they don't tackle Sunday, they'll lose. So I think the Giants do have some guys that can make you miss in space, but they're having their own problems offensively. I don't really look at the Giants game with that issue. I look more ahead in the schedule, like against Philadelphia. Seattle is a really tough test that you got coming up. So the Thanksgiving matchup with Dallas, I know we're getting ahead in the schedule, but you're getting ready to enter quite literally the most pivotal portion of your season.
I will say,
and that's got to improve.
Yeah, I will say
considering the opponents.
I will say that's not an overreaction, but I do have faith that it won't be a massive issue. Here's why.
Okay.
Tackling in the NFL has been atrocious across the board early in seasons for however many years it's been since the CBA changed. They don't tackle in preseason or in training camp, and nobody plays in the preseason anymore. So the thing that you don't practice at all is the thing that everybody sucks at.
Makes sense.
Go figure. Well, as you get later in the season, you have more reps and like you remember how to do it.
You're better.
And so hopefully it gets better as the season goes. I think this weekend against the Giants is an interesting matchup because you're correct. Like Saquon's slippery. He's really hard to bring down. Yeah. He understands angles. He is a home run threat on every play. He also has maybe the worst O-line in the league at the moment. They are terrible. And they're not good to start with, and they're banged up. And like Andrew Thomas obviously being out is massive. Yeah. Their starting left tackle has been out for the entire year, last 3 weeks,
like
whatever
last
it's been.
4 weeks.
Yeah, he's been out for a while at this point. And
Evan Neal is struggling bad. Yeah.
The only thing he's doing worse than playing O-line is talking about himself playing O-line. And it's just it's really bad. And so I do think that this D-line can be dominant. And even if you miss a tackle in the backfield and you slow a guy up, like, can you rally to the football and make plays? And that's kind of what they did against Atlanta. Is like there's some times that Bijan slipped a tackle or two, but the cavalry was coming. Exactly. And so can you continue to gang tackle? Can you continue to rally to the football? Barton's gotten better and better every week to the point where you're like, okay, he's playing at a good level now. There's still like the Cody Barton stinks Twitter crew, and like that's fine. But he's gotten better and better every week. This was by far his best game, and he's like starting to make plays at and behind the line of scrimmage. Jamin is making plays at and behind the line of scrimmage. Duran's going to make 1 or 2 plays a game that you're just like, what was that?
Yeah.
So are there missed tackles? Yeah. James had 1 or 2. Chase had 1 or 2. Yeah. Those guys are still trying to figure it out. What does Percy do? That's always a big question, obviously, as a backup. But I do think that they'll be able to like corral some of those problems as the season goes. But yeah, you're right. Like, how do you give up big plays? You miss tackles and let guys shake loose, and that has been a problem so far this year.
It's been an issue for him. I do think the opponent coming up here in this stretch of play, the stretch of ball that they're about to have, like, you're going to find out exactly what you are and if you're an NFC playoff contender or not.
I mean, yeah, if you can't beat New York, like, that's a problem.
That's how I felt about the Chicago game. But
yeah, I mean, Chicago's such a weird team, man.
Yeah.
Like, they're so potently explosive, and they were on a short week, and you're coming off overtime. Yeah. Like, I'm willing to throw that game out if you play well against New York. If you go to New England and it's New England coming here, whichever way it is.
Yeah, you're at New England back to back.
Yeah,
Seattle and New England back to back. That's a tough trip.
It is, but like if you take care of business in New England, like they're not very good.
You're about to get me to my next overreaction, Craig.
Okay, well let's
final
go.
Number 4.
Probably final one.
Final one. And I know the fans out there listening are going to probably rolling their eyes when I say this because it feels like I'm so Jekyll and Hyde in terms of my evaluation of this team. After Sunday and after week 6 and watching everyone play and looking at the remaining schedules for everyone within the NFC East, I think Washington, it's not really an overreaction. I think Washington should be considered a contender to win this division still. Philadelphia, their next 8-game stretch, you could probably say it's the most difficult in the last 10 years of who they're playing, where they're playing. Dallas isn't playing particularly well last night. I thought Dak Prescott really silenced a lot of his critics with some of the stuff he did off schedule yesterday.
By the way, congrats to him for finding CeeDee Lamb and getting me 18 fantasy points that I needed to win that game. He got me 18.1. I needed 18.
Well, there you go.
So
take it how you take it.
Anyway, continue your much more important point.
I just think Washington, I think the Atlanta game is one of those wins that could hopefully have a trickle-down effect and give you the confidence that you need moving forward. You got to handle your business against New York. Looking at the Philly matchup, I think you belong in the same conversation as them. I really do. And that's the
where you lose me. That is an overreaction.
This is my thing. Jalen Hurts isn't playing good football right now. And this was the diatribe that I've been on all summer. I didn't think he was going to play good football this year. Here's another headline. I think he's a $200 million leader. I don't know how good of a quarterback he is. When you have A.J. Brown, who makes you right 90% of the time when you throw him the football, right? The throws, some of the turnovers that he's had this year, by the way, he's second in the NFL in interceptions right now. Mm-hmm. Some of the turnovers he's had this year,
not good.
Inexplicable. And I understand, yeah, he's a young quarterback, but he's not. He's not young at the pay window on Monday when he's collecting this huge salary that he's making. They're going to have issues moving forward because I don't think he's the type of quarterback that's going to be able to elevate the guys around him. But in terms of the remainder of this season, I think Philly is getting ready to go into a tailspin. That's what I think.
That to me is an overreaction. Like I think
look at the schedule. How
defensively they're still good.
Yeah, but they're banged up in the secondary, and they're going to go up against some offenses that will challenge them.
That's a good point, and we'll see. I also think that you're a little too harsh on Jalen. Is he deserving of being the most high or one of the 5 highest paid quarterbacks in the league?
No.
Probably not. But he does elevate the offense and everybody in it because of his ability to run, and it just changes what defenses can do, right? Like he doesn't have to go sit back like Burrow does and dissect a defense, because if you play the kinds of coverage structures that you play against Burrow, Jalen takes off running and he kills you. And so he doesn't have to take the same test. And so I think for Burrow or for Hurts, let's remember where the floor is on weeks where he's not throwing 3 picks, and realize most weeks he's not going to throw 3 picks.
His best game of the year was against us.
Yeah. That doesn't really help the Commanders' case.
Look at some of the throws that he made in that game, though. Like the whole shot that he threw to A.J. Brown where Cam Crow makes the hit on the sideline, that's his best throw of the season, maybe.
Maybe, but he's still got it in him, and I trust
How
Jalen Hurts.
consistently is he going to do?
I trust Jalen Hurts' character. And you talk about him being a $200 million leader. He's a $200 million leader.
No,
he's that good. I trust his competitive character, his intelligence. Like, I trust Jalen Hurts to figure it out to the extent that he will. Probably not to the level he was last year, where he was MVP.
Yeah.
But very, very high level quarterbacking. Like, still top 10 in the league, I think, probably by the time it's all said and done. Because he is most weeks pretty accurate with the football.
Yeah.
And he's also adjusting to a new coordinator. Like, let's not forget that. Like, Shane Steichen left. How does he vibe with the new play caller there in Philadelphia? What did they lose from Steichen? I know it was his quarterback's coach, but like still, what did they lose from Steichen that Jalen is still trying to figure out? And he still has those guys. He still has A.J. Brown. He still has Devontae Smith. Like, they've got a running game. They've got the best O-line in football. Like,
that's the one thing that kind of gives me a little bit of pause about Philly. The last, them and Washington, quite frankly, the last 3 weeks to a month, Philly on the ground hasn't been their dominant selves. Now, it's also translated into some really big-time Jalen Hurts passing game performances. So I guess it's kind of a pick your poison. They're doing with teams. They're basically letting the defense dictate how they're going to attack. So
yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I do not think that Washington belongs in the same sentence as Philly. That does not mean they can't compete with them every time they line up. But that's like a divisional thing. That's a familiarity thing. There is some talent, the talent disparity is not as big as a lot of people would think, but like it's big in areas that matter, aka the O-line
and quarterback.
Quarterback, yeah, it's closer than a lot of national people think. It's not as close as some of the local people think. Put it that way.
Hey, this is DA, and you're listening to The Hoffman Show on the Team 980 and the Odyssey app.